It's the gift that keeps on giving. We ain't done yet. The crash out tour is continuing for Ellen Astorian as his next target. Who are the victims? Well, it seems to be Hassan, Giga, Sea-Dog. The rise of anti-intellectualism in the anime community, and of course, ReZero is a hashtag on this. Now, apparently there's some extra context surrounding this, and this is an extension off of the whole anime tourists versus colonization anime man bullshit stuff. And there's a quick 1 minute 46 second clip regarding it. Let's just play out this 1 minute 46 clip just so that we know what the hell he's even talking about. Then read some of these statements and then watch this clip and see, is he spitting the truth?
Which is a very political anime, Connor.
It's okay. Well,
It is a very political
what?
anime.
You told me
One
One
Piece?
Piece is very political.
Yes.
What aspect?
What aspect of it? I mean, right over here, right? One Piece, what is the core theme of One Piece? Luffy wanting freedom, for him to create his own freedom, to liberate. He's not trying to be a hero. He makes it quite often like very clear that after he saves a continent, right? That he's like, I'm not a hero, I'm just a dude, I'm just a pirate. And this is simply the byproduct of me pursuing my freedom. And if that means your land, it's freed from the oppressors, right? Fighting against the tyrannical government to free the people who are oppressed. Fighting against the dark cabal of global elites, like the Gorosei, right? Emu shit, right? In order to free and liberate. This is very political themes, right? I don't think this is an insane reach. I think this is the most obvious thing that it's like one of the most like core tenets of One Piece.
Oh my God, yes, I love this. Okay. This is gonna piss off everybody, but I'm so right about this, even though like I'm no.
Luffy's a terrorist? Well, here's the funny thing about the word terrorist, and I gotta be very careful when framing this on Twitch because I might get banned. If you really think about it, the term terrorist is simply a perspective of relativity. What the hell does that even mean? Well, some people think that they're freedom fighters, that they're on the side of justice. Death Note, for example, Light, Yagami Light that we're watching right now, he probably thinks that he's a savior, that he's a hero. Other people see him just as a murderer. It's all about their own ideals and their own sense of justice. So terrorism, it's very easy to declare that a group of people are doing horrible things. But when you look into why those group of people are doing horrible things, then you start to understand they're simply fighting back. And I'm not saying they're simply fighting back. There are absolutely cases where it's horrific events. But I'm just saying terrorists don't just spawn out of nowhere. You know what I mean? People don't just one day just come out and be like, you know what? I feel like being a terrorist. Like there's like a very deep rooted issue of being oppressed and, you know, all that terrible things happen that lead to such acts of horror.
Okay.
Like, okay, first of all, again, maybe a little bit too long as an arc. He's quite literally about like, you know, indigenous populations being removed from their land and like violently trying to you know, find
We talking about Skypiea arc right now?
autonomy and emancipation through, you know, through violent means directly against like an enemy that is much more powerful than them.
Right.
That is like,
I think this is Skypiea arc, right? This is Fishman to you, Fishman Island for sure. There's a lot of it like that too. I mean, you could also think of it as, you know, Baroque Works, right? The terrorist group that's, dude, the way that Crocodile set up Alabasta was fucking masterful for him to parade around as the fucking savior of his own group as the one terrorizing. Anyways.
you know, that's like a land back movement, which is inherently very political, very leftist.
I feel like I watched I read a different
Yeah, I know. I was trying to describe.
I think that I'm kind of shocked that Connor and, you know, Joey aren't very aware of like these apparent themes. I don't know. I feel like you don't have to think too hard to realize that One Piece has a lot of core themes of liberating the masses from their oppressors, freedom, breaking the shackles of slavery and oppression. Like, is that not kind of obvious?
Describe this to him. He's like, "What are you talking about?" It's
I was
about
like, man, I saw funny gum man.
Yeah.
killed
No,
that
One
guy.
Piece is about having.
No, I think that, yeah, like the average person watching One Piece probably isn't going to think about these core political themes like Hassan, who is literally a political commentator, and the average person is going to say, oh, Luffy go gum gum bazooka, oh, he did the thing, yeah, right? And you kind of just ignore all these other, I guess, elements.
Having fun with your friends and being free.
Yeah,
What?
exactly.
I mean, first of all, Luffy is a terrorist.
He is defined as a terrorist by the world government, is he not? No, straight up. He is. The world government, he literally shot down. He told Usopp, not Usopp. He tells Sogeking, hey, shoot that fucking flag down. Why? Because his friend Robin is being taken. And he wants to make a stance that, like, we're in this. Like, listen, we don't care that, like, we're going to make the enemy of the world government and they're going to chase after us. Fuck it. We're in this. My resolve is this. Shoot that flag. It's a chilling scene. And then Sogeking does his fire shot and boom. And then, God, one of the best moments of One Piece happens in that episode.
I mean, he literally is. He's fighting.
I hate that you're kind of right.
Yes.
He's not kind of right. He's absolutely right. But again, if you don't think in the perspective of like political commentators, these themes are gonna just go under, right? And you're just thinking, Gum Gum Man does Gum Gum things.
I fucking hate that you're kind of right.
Yeah, he is a freedom fighter in the most like honorable sense of the word.
Yeah.
He is quite literally fighting against an unjustifiable, corrupt military apparatus that is like holding the entire world hostage, the world government and the Navy.
I mean, is he wrong though? The Cypher Pole, the world government, the Gorosei, Emu shit, like, this is fair.
Literally killing cops. Like he's killing sea cops and motherfuckers are like,
Sea Cops is crazy. the Navy are Sea Cops. Hassan is a drama slop streamer who likes to LARP as a serious political commentator. Listen, anytime this guy shows up, we're always going to get a bunch of people that's fucking triggered in chat and start just talking about how much they hate them. I don't care. Listen, we're just here to hear some ideas. Put aside your fucking parasocial bias towards this guy and acknowledge that what you're saying is true about One Piece. He's not wrong.
no, that's not politics. What do you mean? That's just like Gum Man having fun.
I mean, the thing is, like, I remember you saying this yesterday when we were having dinner, and I was just like, I think with One Piece, just because of the art style and just the way things are, haha, funny rubber man. Yeah. Of course, you know, you can take it at that level, and it's still very, very interesting stories. But if you break down some of the stuff that happens, half of it is Luffy going up against a corrupt government. Or
yes. That's true. He's right. And again, listen, I don't care how much you hate this Hassan guy, okay? My thing is always, I will hear out what someone has to say. I don't care about their fucking past history of drama or how much you hate them as a person. I just care about the talking points and the ideas. And in this current context of defining if One Piece is political or not, I completely agree. Now, why are we quote retweeting this off of the Anime Man drama? Is he just trying to throw some shade? Basically, the drama ended with the Anime Man telling Ellen Astorian, it ain't that deep. Nothing, like, basically, Ellen Astorian made the comment that, like, everything is political inherently, and that, like, this is serious. Again, I agree with that. Politics exist literally everywhere in our day-to-day lives, as it is simply a difference of opinion of how much, you know, it's a bunch of opinions based on your moral compass, right? The spectrum of the values that you believe in, and not everyone's gonna, you know, believe the same things. And he's trying to frame the Anime Man as what? Not valid, by bringing in this clip where he doesn't understand that politics exist in One Piece. The fact that, excuse me, the Trash Taste podcast, Giguk, Kdog Va, and the Anime Man couldn't immediately recognize that One Piece is a deeply political series. Well, the podcast, yeah. Giguk, I think, was able to realize, but these two, they seem pretty shocked. Couldn't immediately recognize that One Piece is a deeply political series. It's very concerning when it comes to media literacy. You don't need Hasanami to point it out. Anyone with basic reading comprehension could see it. That said, I doubt they're actually that oblivious. It feels like more like they're choosing to deny for whatever reason. Maybe explains Joey's response to me. Essentially saying it's not that deep / political. This is an interesting position he's framing, Joey, because it's funny to me for a couple reasons. First, obviously, this has to do with making Joey look bad, because Joey was telling him, hey, it ain't that deep. Why don't you go read some light novels, huh? That's what your name suggests, right? Of course Ellen Historian's gonna be salty, right? I mean, think about it. No matter how right or wrong he may be, when you are treated in that condescending way and a lot of people are laughing at him, wouldn't you be salty, right? I think to say, oh, just man up and move on, listen, sure. But I think that I can totally acknowledge that a person like Ellen Historian would absolutely feel, you know, fuck that guy, right? No matter, even if I'm wrong, it's just like, then again, here's the thing. When you enter the Coliseum as a gladiator, it's to be expected, right? When you start taking shots, you know, misrepresenting people and basically have a video that's getting like 50,000 plus engagements in terms of likes, right? Not even talking about views, and it's all just hate brigading, like, right? This is what happens when you enter the arena, right? So you got to kind of realize that you can't just shoot the gun and not expect the other side to shoot back. It's going to get messy. And that's why I always treat this as just reality TV, just slop content. It's just for fun, just to spit some ideas. But the thing that's interesting to me here is I doubt they're actually that oblivious. So now Ellen Historian is framing this as Joey is not that dumb. He's smart, but he's being disingenuous. He's lying, feigning ignorance, parading around that he doesn't know that One Piece isn't political because whatever reason. I think this is a bit of a reach. I think the anime man straight up might have not even realized it because he doesn't like watch One Piece hard. And I think a lot of people watch One Piece as a kid growing up, and maybe they're still not watching it and they forget about all these. When you're watching this as a kid, I don't think I would have ever also realized these political themes, right? Definitely now, when I reflect back to my childhood, like when I'm watching as a kid, I'm just literally seeing Gum Gum Man do Gum Gum things. Pirates are cool. And that like, yeah, he's helping the people. He saved Alabasta. He saved these contents. But later on, when you grow up, right, especially when in the current political climate that we are, it's definitely a lot more noticeable. So I think that it's not that, I don't think he's masquerading around and hiding it for whatever reasons. And I don't think that like, I genuinely believe that it really wasn't that deep. It wasn't that serious about what the anime man said, about the joke he made, you know, again, making fun of Columbus and the ignorance of labeling a continent as India and then tying that to anime tourist behavior. But absolutely, this part, it's kind of like, damn, he just didn't get it, huh? And now, we're not done yet. We've done our homework, right? We've done our homework, and now we're here. We're gonna watch this clip. 1 minute, 17 seconds, baby. Let's see it.
The rise of anti-intellectualism in the anime community is genuinely concerning. More and more, I've noticed a trend of people...
Okay, first of all, though, the podcast name is Trash Taste. Now, should they be given immunity for all of the trash taste that they have? I'm saying, would you expect them to be very thorough and comprehensive in their media literacy of anime when their name is called Trash Taste? Well, that's not really fair. It's not really fair because that's a shield that is kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? These are not random people. This is Sea-Dog VA. He's a fucking voice actor. He watches anime. He's involved in anime projects. He's even directing some of the voice acting stuff for Ban, right? Giguk is a handhold name in the anime industry. Bro is the face of anime. The anime man is literally a man about the anime. With a lot of quote-unquote pretentious takes that a lot of people kind of get pissed off at. But still, I don't think he is an amateur by any means, right? They should absolutely have media literacy despite the podcast being labeled Trash Taste.
Is genuinely concerning. More and more, I've noticed a trend of people downplaying the political messaging and deeper themes in anime. And if you dare point this out, you're considered an anime tourist.
Oh, he's a tourist. Well, you're gonna have dumbasses, right? Jackal. I think that if you're denying that like One Piece is not inherently political nature after this clip, which literally explains and spoon feeds you this, I think that these are just idiots, right? There's gonna be idiots everywhere. And this guy, I don't think he's even understanding, and he's just calling him a tourist because he just hates Ellen Historian.
I think this comes from a large portion of the community.
Oh, this too. Anime is not inherently political. Full stop, please. Well, the logic of anime not being inherently political is based... What's my take about this? I think that anime has to be political by nature because everything is rooted in politics in certain levels of degrees. Again, everything has to do with a person's opinions. And a person is creating a piece of work. Not every show is a political talk piece, right? There's different degree of how political something is. You know what I mean? a show about a fucking what's an anime we're watching right now? I don't know. I'm gonna bring this one. Banana. There is an anime called Banana, and this anime is about a person who thought bananas are cute, and that like nya is like cat pun. So there's a bunch of banana cats, and it's a short little anime about cute little banana cats. There's nothing about politics here, even if you see a pirate. So yeah, sometimes some works are done just made like this, right? And would you think that this is inherently political? Hell no. This is nothing political. Unless there's some sort of propaganda about banana industries in Japan and how there are big companies, big banana, just like big pharma, there's big banana, and they're trying to create an upwards what's it called? Upwards a economics of bananas, because banana sales are going down, and they're using this anime as propaganda. And in that way, then sure, you can say it's political. But you see how much mental gymnastics I just had to do, right? You see how much mental gymnastics I had to do? Because like, I think a lot of things in the world is inherently political, because politics, I think, again, is just a difference of opinions and values, right? Based on a person's value system. And there's going to be, of course, shows that is absolutely not seemingly political at all. So it's hard to like inherently political. Inherently political, I guess, kind of means that like everything must have politics. Here's my take. I think that not every single anime is going to be political commentary. Not every anime is going to be overtly obvious like One Piece. But politics absolutely does exist. And most of the arguments I've realized regarding this shit, it's always in absolutes. You know what I mean? It's always in absolutes. Thank you, Third Danik, for the 2 months of Prime. I appreciate you, man. What I'm trying to say is nothing is binary, zeros and ones, or like absolute, right? Black and white, true, false. And I do believe that a lot of things in life are inherently political by nature due to a difference of people's values and customs. But this doesn't mean that every single anime has to be political think pieces.
Holding worldviews that clash with the values of their favorite shows.
What's this one? So we have One Piece is a battle shonen aimed at Japanese teenagers. It has political structures, but it is not trying to be political or make a political statement. It's trying to teach kids common sense life lessons, freedom, God, and justice bad, that literally everyone agrees with. But this is political. Freedom good and justice bad. When you are oppressed by a group of people who have all the power to oppress you and you fight against that, how is that not political? You're talking about justice, unfairness, right? These things are political by nature. Like, I kind of see what this guy's trying to say by saying reducing One Piece to be a battle shonen aimed at the hearts of young Japanese men. And sometimes I wonder what Oda is thinking when he sees what's happening right now in Indonesia, Malaysia. I'm forgetting a lot of other places where the people have gotten fed up with the corruption of their government and they're starting to just burn shit down. It's some crazy shit happening right now. And I wonder what Oda thinks. When Oda wakes up, yeah, Nepal too, when Oda wakes up and he sees the Straw Hat flag waving over burning houses of politicians, right? I wonder what he's thinking. He probably looks at it and he's thinking, whoa, wait a minute. What the fuck did I mean? Is it that deep? You know what I mean? So, and not trying to be political, sure, right? Let's say a person simply, like again, not trying to be political means there's no actual, like, I think that the whole concept of justice, freedom, fighting for your freedom against the oppressors is inherently political by nature because of, again, tyrannical governments and tyrannical, again, like groups of people that oppresses the masses, and for you to overcome that. It doesn't need to be like I don't think Oda's main goal is to say this is my political commentary, you need to agree with it, but more of look at this main character Luffy in the way that he tends for freedom. He doesn't even see himself as a hero. He simply does what he wants, and that is how he lives. And the byproduct is countries and continents getting liberated, then great. But Luffy also says, I'm not a hero. I'm just doing my thing. This is my definition of freedom. And people can interpret that however the hell they want. I think it is ignorant, though, and very obtuse to assume that there is nothing political about this shit. You know what I mean? I think that One Piece, if anything, has a lot of political themes, even again, if the author isn't intending on this being a political think piece.
Favorite shows. To deal with this, these fans dismiss the politics entirely, or consume the story only at a surface level. This is likely a
Yeah, I don't know why people are actually arguing against Ellen Historian about this. And I think this, again, has to do with many people, again. Remember what just happened when I brought Hassan on? The moment that they see this guy's face, people start tweaking out. They don't care about the ideas and the logic being presented. They just hate this guy. They hate him and they say, fuck him. And this is what happens on online discourse. No one cares about actually like listening to the other side and having actual productive conversations. They just have an inherent bias and hate for people. And due to what's been happening with Ellen Historian aiming his targets on, you know, Anime Man and all that colonization bullshit happening, they just hate him. They hate him and they're going to say, tourist, you're the tourist. Fuck you, you're wrong. I think that this is a very obvious take that like One Piece absolutely is political by nature, and many things in life are political by nature, even again if they are not specifically political think pieces meant to stoke, you know, left versus right ideologies in your brain.
This is likely a coping mechanism that lets them enjoy the series without facing its uncomfortable truths. The problem is this.
What is this one? One Piece isn't a political story and shouldn't be twisted into one. It's a fun, escapist anime about pirates chasing dreams, friendship, and freedom in a fantasy world, not a commentary on real-world politics like liberalism or conservatism. But who are you to decide that, right? The world government's corruption or the Straw Hat Rebellion and classic storytelling tropes about justice and standing up for what's right, not endorsements of any ideology, forcing political labels onto One Piece like calling Luffy a revolutionary or the world government a capitalist. By the way, Luffy's dad is literally Dragon, the leader of the fucking revolutionary group. Luffy's brother, not by blood, but by choice, Sabo, is literally the fucking right-hand man of the revolutionary group who they all share the same ideology with, freedom. I think that, like, this is an insane mental gymnastics to say otherwise. Like, the show literally has a group called the Revolutionaries. Forcing politics labels onto One Piece, like calling Luffy revolutionary or the world government a capitalist critique, misses the point and divides fans. Eiichiro Oda crafted a universal tale to inspire and entertain, not to push agendas. Let's enjoy One Piece for the heart and adventure, leaving real-world politics behind to unite as fans over Luffy's journey, not debate policies. I see what this guy's trying to say, but like, I think it's just wrong. It's so disingenuous to say there's nothing political in nature about this when everything about it is literally fucking political nature about the fucking fighting against the tyrannical governments. No matter how much you hate this guy, how could you possibly say that Luffy... Again, here's the thing. I don't think Luffy or I don't think Oda is creating this character to make people fight against their corrupt governments per se, right? I don't think that's what his goal is. I think that's the story that he's writing, and I think a lot of it may stem from reality. And there's a very clear intent in how he sets Luffy. He doesn't ever acknowledge himself as a hero. He doesn't see himself as a liberator. He's simply attempting to chase his own version of freedom, and the byproduct of that are, what? Continents being liberated and oppressed groups becoming freed. Even the whole Fishman Island stuff, right? You can talk about politics. Let's bring not just, you know, political, like, what's it called? Like injustice in terms of oppressions of governments. What about racism? Fishman Island, right? The fact that Luffy and Jinbei literally share blood, right? There is an insane scene where Luffy and Jinbei become tied by blood, and it's such a symbolic moment. And Luffy cast his, you know, protection over Fishman Island and make sure Big Mom and them, they ain't fucking touching this shit. This fucking my land now, right? Fishmen are oppressed like crazy, and Luffy hates that shit because it's just unfair. Now, is Oda simply trying to like, is the point of Oda right at that point? What do you think Oda's trying to do when he introduces like this concept of Fishman Island, or like fishmen, and how they're basically slaves, and how a bunch of people, rich ruling classes, treat them as slaves and even buys them? There's like auctions and shit happening, right? Like, listen, I think that there absolutely is a crossover. There is absolutely an intersection of the story that Oda's telling, right? The escapism anime about pirates chasing dreams, freedom, friendship, and freedom in a fantasy world, but as well as political commentary, even if he didn't mean it, right? About what's happening in the real world. Is he saying left is good, right is bad? No. But to completely disavow any sort of political, themes in a show where it is inherently about fighting against a tyrannical government and achieving your own version of freedom is so ignorant. It's so fucking ignorant. How could you? This is some insane level of mental gymnastics. Is it not? It's just hard for me to sit here and even think of a scenario where One Piece has no politics at all. That is just a goofy little show about fucking pirate go gum gum. People forget that stories are written by people and people are inspired by real life. I mean, sure, absolutely. But like, forcing political labels onto One Piece, like calling a Luffy a revolutionary or the world government a capitalist critique. Is anyone calling the world government a capitalist critique though? I think the world government is supposed to be like this unfair group of people that like erase history and simply just like try to just force their people like into ignorance and make them submit. I don't know. I feel like no one's trying to push an agenda though. Right? He created a universal tale to inspire and entertain. That's right. To stand up for what's right. To chase your, version of freedom. Absolutely. Not to push agendas. This is the part that I may agree with though. So here's the final take about this tweet. The final take about this tweet is to declare that there is no politics in One Piece at all is completely ignorant. But I can agree with this part about the goal of Oda is not to like push some sort of specific agenda. I think the goal of Oda is to present a story about all these different injustices that everyone, regardless of which spectrum of politics they're on, like Oda isn't saying left good, right bad, or Oda isn't saying right good, left bad. Oda is simply showing these are the unfair injustices that I think everybody can watch and agree that it's shitty. And for you to be inspired by this, by what Luffy does and how he carves out his own freedom. And he's not telling you to be a liberal. He's not telling you to be a conservative, but there are absolutely political themes at the core of this.
The problem is this kind of denial often becomes the start of a...
What is this? We have progressed to sucking off leftist level of tourism. Impressive crash out, 8 out of 10. So again, it's people that hate Hassan here, right? They hate Hassan. And now they're calling Ellen Historian leeching off of Hassan's take about this. Again, people are such fucking NPCs and they immediately hear a name and they get so triggered. And again, I don't care about Hassan. I care about the ideas. I care about the logic. And what was presented in that clip was extremely reasonable, logical.
Pipeline. Once you get used to brushing aside deeper meanings, it's easier to slide into outright anti-intellectualism, where any critical discussion about media gets rejected as it's not that deep. An example of this is the clip that's been blown
The crazy face from the anime man. Bro is fucking eating this shit up.
With Hassan on the Trash Taste podcast. It's unclear if all three, that being Giguk, Joey, and Sea-Dog, are caught up in this denial. Joey might be, considering his stitch to my video, saying it's all just Japanese cartoons, and that it's not that
it's not that deep still. I agree with in the context of the fucking Christopher Columbus joke and how we're making fun of him, not glorifying colonization, and saying anime tourists are kind of funny for ignorantly labeling shit that they don't know about, right? No. That's right. You can't tie this in though. No. Listen, leading up to this, I'm like, yes, One Piece has a lot of politics in it, even if Oda isn't trying to specifically feed you a narrative of you need to be on the left or you need to be on the right. No, it's fight for your own idea of freedom. And how you interpret that is definitely based in politics. You can't bring the anime man. No. You can't bring this shit back in here though.
Deep, I'm just being too political. As for the other two, I think they're more self-aware. They know a large part of their fandom is already in this pipeline, so they play dumb. And it's not just them.
this has to do with the remember when Hassan went in on that podcast? Man, that shit was crazy. Let's check it out again. Shout out to Marlon Sparrow. Trash Taste Hassan. Oh man, this shit was fucking crazy, right? How long ago was that? Let's see. Hassan. That was 7 months ago. Is this the one? Is this actually the one though? One second. I just wanted to see this guy. That's actually crazy. This is 7 months ago, man. Ain't this shit feel like it was yesterday? By the way, he's right about this too. Blue Lock is a yaoi anime.
The only part in Blue Lock that doesn't make it fully a BL, I guess, is that Blue Lock is a boy love anime.
Listen. Do you see a bunch of young twinks, femboys and alike, chained up in a collar? They're all wearing the tightest compression, clothing too, all running around, making the most sus jokes. No. You cannot ever convince me that Blue Lock is not at least part of BL. Like, bro, the intended target is definitely for a lot of guys who like hype shit, but also for the ladies. Because there's a lot of sus moments, not even moments, the dialogue. Oh my god. Remember when like Isagi was about to get chained up and put in a fucking cage by fucking Oscar? Remember that shit, bro? Anyways, we're getting off topic. I'm bringing you this video to remind you that this happened, and my fucking god, this shit was a nuclear outfall, right? A lot of people hate Hassan for his beliefs and his takes. Very, extreme person with a lot of left ideals. And people call him a terrorist sympathizer, and they hate this guy. And this is what happened. But they still brought him on because I think Giguk and them, they're definitely friends, right? I think that
like where
Ellen Historian is basically saying that like they are part of this friend group. So a lot of their audience may be deeply rooted in that like left-leaning ideals. Therefore, they are playing dumb and not challenging Hassan in this clip. Or they straight up just watched One Piece as a kid and never really thought too much about it.
The other two, I think they're more self-aware. They know a large part of their fandom is already in this pipeline, so they play dumb. And it's not just them. Many creators avoid these topics entirely because they know the backlash it brings. I got a taste of this myself. The amount of hate I got from a single tweet saying One Piece is obviously political shows
I think that you got hate on this because of what happened leading up to it, right? Because I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but chronologically, didn't he get into that all bullshit with the Anime Man first? The whole tourist stuff? A lot of people are hating and disagreeing, and then he led in on this one. And then now you have carryover from the haters who don't actually care about the ideas and the logic presented and simply are hating because they wage in on tribalism.
obviously political, shows just how deeply hostile parts of the community are to even the most basic media analysis.
Well, I think that, again, online, people don't care about listening to people's takes. They simply see a face and their monkey brains recognize, I hate that guy. I don't care about what they're going to say. I will never listen. I'm going to simply side against him because I don't care about being right. I just care about playing team sports, and I hate that guy. It's that simple. And you're going to get retards in any group, any community, across all the spectrum. And it's easy to pick out the dumbest of the dumb and show how stupid they are. My final take with the One Piece stuff, regarding specifically this, I think is One Piece absolutely does have politics at the core root of its themes. If you think that there is nothing political about fighting against injustice and defining your sense of freedom, you are so beyond just like lost the sauce that you hate this guy so much that you're basically just doing mental gymnastics. However, I do agree about this part, about the agendas, because I don't think Oda is necessarily trying to like push like you need to be a liberal, you need to be a conservative. No. Oda's showing you this with political themes in nature about the injustices that happens in the real life too, and show you in a way that everyone across the spectrum can watch this, left and right alike, and see this is fucked up, and that they can agree with it, which is the real irony behind all this. The big irony of all this is that there's so much that people on the left and the right have in common? Because at the end of the day, you really think that there's any differences in like what the average person wants? Average person just wants not to live paycheck by paycheck. They want security. They want to have a job that pays them good enough for them to live and to, you know, hang out with their friends. They want to have a family. They want to do something fulfilling, right? But it's so hard to unite the masses because the people at the top, the world government, the Gorosei, they're so good at dividing us monkeys using identity politics and tribalism. What is that? This is it. Left versus right. They're so easily, like the machine has basically exist. I mean, if you just look at American politics, it's exactly that, right? Do you know how divided people are? Even though the average person on left versus right have more in common, they're willing to fight against each other because they're just completely brainwashed by identity politics and these little stupid culture wars to keep people divided, rather than thinking about like, why is the grocery prices going up? Why is my rent going up? Why is housing not actually possible? Why are people getting so much laid off and job security doesn't exist? Because most people, again, are divided and conquered because we're stupid. The governments intentionally make the population dumber and dumber by just defunding education and just going off of dumbass rhetorics that just divides the masses. The less smart they are, it's a society of idiocracy. No one actually thinks about the logics and ideas. There's no critical thinking happening. It's just a bunch of monkeys throwing shit at each other between left and the right. While the people at the actual top, the actual Gorosei, bro, they're like, oh, what a bunch of idiots. We can make these idiots fight amongst themselves without them realizing that if they united together and fought against the actual people who have power, right? That would be true freedom. And if only people could actually take that lesson from Oda. If people could just simply watch One Piece and realize that like, shit, maybe I do have more in common with like the average person of my like tax bracket, you know, of my like socioeconomic status, regardless of our politics. I think we can all agree that injustice is bad. But again, it will never happen. Because why? Because this. We're this guy. I love this guy. This guy basically talks about, you know, how good, you know, democracy could be, right? How good these, you know, these political systems could be. But the thing is, the people are retarded. And the more that I've watched Death Note and other shows that, you know, make you think about like the justice system and stuff, I'm starting to realize it's not really like a specific like political system that's at fault. It's the people that's involved. It's the fact that human beings are at the core of this, and we're so greedy and corrupt and stupid. That's why most systems fail. I think any system theoretically could work, but at the core of it, what exists? Dumb monkeys like myself. Anyways, we're yapping too much at this point. Hopefully you learned that like there's a lot more in common. Even if you don't agree with me, even if you don't agree with the random tweeter or like random Reddit comments of people with differing opinions, just realize that like we have a lot more in common than you think. And it might be in our best interest to actually like empathize and team up rather than fight against each other about bullshit issues, about like trans bathrooms, trans women in fucking sports, about like all these dumb things, right? It's literally making us regress.